Hello, my dear friends. Today we're going to talk about dating as a manifestor in human design, as a female manifestor in human design, no less, which is definitely interesting. Okay, so first off, I think the part that makes it interesting is that because of the world that we live in, we have this perception of like male energy, female energy, like alpha male, males are the initiators, males are the ones that like make the first move or whatever. The dominant male, and then the submissive female, that women are not the initiators. Women are the ones who respond. Women are the ones who like wait around for the guy to accept them. And that can become really challenging, not just for a manifestor in human design, but for any female, really. Honestly, I don't see, as much as we can say that, yeah, ooh, equal rights, equality, like blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done. I'm sure you guys agree with me. But I just see it more and more and more as I get older as well, because I just kind of am starting to see things for what they are. So yeah, that masculine, like, initiator, and then the feminine, like waiting to respond, like kind of submissive type vibe is what we've all been grown up on. It's of no fault of anybody's. This is the world that we live in. This is the world that we've grown up with, and depending on your cultural norms too, it might be more extreme or less extreme or whatever, or portrayed differently, maybe I should say. So yeah, that's, I think, where a lot of the challenges lie, especially in the dating scene. So I think in the dating scene too, there are a lot of like sensitivities, fragile egos, all that type of stuff. Because the dating scene is uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable world. I don't necessarily enjoy being in it. Like, yeah, I've gone it through in and out of phases where I've, haven't minded being in that like single life dating scene, because it can be fun and it can be exciting. But I'm kind of at a point in my life where I don't feel that way anymore. I'm not excited about it. I'm actually starting to come into like a different spectrum of how I view relationships, which I'll try to remember to talk about in a second. I want to get back to this like masculine and feminine energy thing. Also, by the way, I don't like this whole like masculine energy and feminine energy thing, because I can't get completely on board with using those terms to describe that stuff. I just can't, because I just feel like there's too many. The English language doesn't fully depict what I think those things actually mean. And then I think that we make inferences or conclusions based on our association with words in the English language that I don't think are completely accurate. So that's how I feel about that stuff. But like the average male archetype in society, in a dating world, would say that, the woman is just supposed to kind of like wait around for the guy to reach out to them. And I do actually kind of hold to that for the most part, I think, just because of, that's just how I've been taught is the way that you're supposed to do things in society. I'm not supposed to be the initiator. I'm not supposed to be like, and again too, like I have a lot of fears or sensitivities around being perceived a certain way. Like I don't want to be perceived as being like crazy or desperate. And I really do think that, women who are the initiators and who are the ones that are like towards the guy, or like texting first, or like wanting to make the plans with the guy, are perceived that way, that they're desperate. And I think that's really sad. For one, it makes it so that different energy types, like a manifestor, for example, makes it really difficult to want to like step into this natural initiating role that we like want to take on, that's right and correct for us to do. Because of this perception that's out there. And I take that one on, I'm really sensitive to it. So that's something that I'm really cognizant of, like who I initiate with, I struggle with that. If you guys have any like feedback or solutions or things that work for you when it comes to that stuff, I would love to hear it, because I'm not saying that this video has solutions to it. I'm just sharing my thoughts and my experiences in the hope that you guys can relate, know that you're not alone, for one, in this whole experience. But also too, like maybe to start a conversation where we can kind of like open it up to start making some shifts and some changes, even for ourselves, to start doing things differently, perhaps. So anyways, that's the whole like thing that kind of I get caught up on, of like this perception of like being the female who's the one that's initiating and texting first and trying to make the plans and whatever, and the guy who's just kind of like, oh, this girl's like desperate or crazy or whatever. I really like have a huge sensitivity around that, especially when it's energetically correct for me to be the one to initiate. Secondly, too, nobody likes being rejected. I am not unique in my sensitivity around rejection, and I get rejected all the time. The one thing too, because I want to be that initiator, but I also don't want people to say no to me, and I also don't want people to ghost me. And so I get really irate if I get ghosted or people say no to me. So that's something too that I'm trying to like just figure out, okay, like how many more times do I need to like bang my head against the wall with like this, risking myself, feeling like I'm being vulnerable with like initiating, which is energetically correct for me to do, but then risking that I'm not going to get a response back. I'm going to be ghosted. Someone's going to say no to me. That's something that, like, not even just in the dating scene, but I feel like in the dating scene in general, it's just things are more amplified because I think we're all just like that much more sensitive. There's more egos involved. Like, it's just a bit of a messy world. So yeah, that's definitely a struggle for me too. Recently as well, I've kind of been coming more into this whole questioning, why do I feel the need to be in a relationship? Is that something that I actually want, or is that something that's been imposed on me just from the society that I live in, that I'm a single 35-year-old female is not normal, quote unquote, that I should be in a relationship. I should want to be in a relationship. I should want to start having kids and all this type of stuff. So, the pressure for me personally is real, and I really am aware of that sensitivity that I have around it. And that's been something recently that I have been challenging or have been exploring a bit more of. Do I actually want to be in a relationship? Like, is that actually what I want? Yeah, I'm a 4/6. Like, I do want to find my soulmate in life, but I also, from experience, because I don't know what it's like to have that, because all my relationships have obviously ended. So it's like, I don't have that proof of what that actually looks like. I have an idea of like the excitement around what it could feel like, but is it gonna last? I don't know. Do I want to go through the heartbreak again? Like, all that type of stuff. So it leaves me kind of questioning. Not that I'm one to like sit and hide, and like I'm totally down to like pursue and get messy and mess things up and experience the pain and whatever. And not saying that it gets any easier anytime, but I think that's my 4/6 coming through, where it's like, I want love. I like the pursuing of love. I like the idea of love. So yeah, I definitely like kind of keep that ambition or that desire. But I've been listening to more Abraham Hicks stuff on YouTube lately, and that was the one thing that it kind of got me questioning, that I like the idea of the love and the relationship. I like the idea. I like thinking about it. It makes me happy. It makes me excited. But do I actually in reality want that? I don't know anymore. I'm not sure that I do. I think sometimes I view companionship almost as like as safety too. And that's kind of, to me, to make that realization as well, that like I want to be in a relationship because I want to feel safe, because then when I feel safe, I can kind of be a little bit more myself. I can feel a little bit more comfortable because I feel less vulnerable, which is kind of sad, right? It's sad that as a woman that I feel that way, that I am safe to be myself when I'm in a relationship with man. I don't know, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because I even like think about it from a perspective that like it's what will other people think of me? So how do other people perceive me? And that's something that I'm trying to get over, because also too, as a manifestor, we are initiators, and it hinders us so much to be constantly wondering what other people are going to think of us, because it hides us from this ability to initiate and to do all these beautiful things in this world, from this natural energy, this natural power that we already have. So that's something that I'm kind of like slowly working through. Like, what would life be like if I didn't care as much about what people thought about me? That would be really interesting. Maybe someday we'll get there. But what I was saying was, so as an example, I like going to the bar by myself, not late at nighttime, because, you know, I'm not naive to what goes on in society. I know a single girl sitting at the bar by herself late at night gives off the wrong impression. Okay, I am aware. But I like going like earlier, like late afternoon type thing. That's kind of my prime time. I really like doing that then because there's not too many people, but you know, I'm able to like get into the vibe, like experience the vibe of the space, and I really like that. So I'm also nervous nervous touch in human design. So by the way, if you guys don't know your variables, really important, figure out your variables and learn about them some more, because that's been a game changer for me personally with a lot of things. So yeah, I consume the vibes of the space. So that's why I really like bar vibes from that perspective. So yeah, I like doing that, but I am really sensitive to the norm that it's more socially acceptable for a guy to sit at the bar by himself and have a drink or two than it is for a woman to sit at the bar by herself and have a drink or two. And like, I am aware of that. So I'm kind of sensitive about it too. But being in a relationship, like if I were out with a guy, I would feel more comfortable doing that. Or if I were even out by myself, but knew that I was in a relationship, and I would be like meeting up with my partner afterwards or whatever, not even meeting up with them afterwards, but just having that thought in my mind that like I'm safe because I'm in a relationship, I would feel a lot less vulnerable sitting at a bar by myself. Yeah, riddle me that one. That one's kind of interesting, isn't it? So last thing I want to leave this on too is it's okay to, I think as manifestors in human design, it doesn't matter your human design, but we're being contextual here. So as manifestors in human design, it's like we are here to initiate. And I think for the majority of us, initiators who are immediately around us or that we mostly are exposed to are going to be men. Does this mean that it's masculine energy? Not necessarily. It's just that the initiator is usually going to be a man. And so to take that inspiration from someone of the opposite sex is totally acceptable. And that's been something recently that I've shifted my thoughts around, because you know, in To Be Magnetic, I don't know if you guys have done that before, but like the whole idea of expanders. I was always choosing women as my expanders, but it's a lot easier to choose men as expanders if you're a manifestor and like being a leader. I have right angle across the rulership. I don't know if I already said that, but like that's kind of like my vibe in my life. Like this is my territory type thing. So I can see that a lot more being socially acceptable for a man to do and gaining inspiration from that, as opposed to gaining inspiration from women who are like that. Because I still feel like societally we reject it on some level. It's perceived in not a positive light sometimes. Unfortunately, those people are, you know, it's still, that is the fact, that is the reality that I live in. That is how I perceive things. It's definitely not right or wrong. But anyways, so what I'm getting at here is that it's totally fine to seek males as inspiration. And I have one person in particular in my life, and it was only a few months ago that I realized that it was okay for me to seek inspiration from something like that, was that I had a variable reading. And that was the one thing where, you know, I was talking about, it's almost like I have this envy for this male in my life, for this guy in my life. And like, I'm very inspired by him, but yes, I'm envious of him because I'm envious of his life. I'm envious of the way that he gets to live his life, how there just seems to be so much freedom. This is just an outsider looking in. Like, maybe it's not all rainbows and butterflies in his own personal life, but you know, I'm really inspired by it and jealous, envious of the fact that, well, if I were a man, maybe my life would be different. Well, my life absolutely would be different, but I am not a man. I have been brought into this life as a female with a rather dominant personality, even just being a manifestor in human design. So that is, I'm here to, that's part of my initiation process, right? Like that's part of things for me to unlearn and things for me to, you know, come into, like step into, embody, and then also from that perspective, influence others around me for. Yeah. So I can understand that. I can see that. It's a big role. It makes me really nervous for sure. But I also think that like I do have a lot of things to say around this whole idea of like what it's like to date as a female in the society, especially as a manifestor in human design. And yeah, the one last thing, I'm going back to this whole thing of being envious of this man. That was a thing in the variable reading that she had said to me. She was like, well, like maybe like you are envious. Maybe you want to be him, and like maybe you are already him and you just don't realize it. And that was where the moment kind of clicked, where it was just like, here I am thinking that because I'm a female, I have to act, be, do, whatever, a certain way, which are these like things that have been put on me by society, by the world that I live in, when I'm like really wanting to be this other way. And what would it be like if I decided to embody like all these other things that I'm inspired by with this guy, right? What would that be like? You know, it's kind of exciting to think about when you like, yeah, I'm excited about it. So yeah, that's one thing that I'm going to leave this talk on, is that whole idea that, you know, it's totally fine to be inspired by men. And I actually think that having expanders who are men, if you are similar to me in this whole scenario, I think that would actually be a really powerful thing to kind of like start looking into, of like, how can you be inspired by someone who is not the same sex as you and embody some of that stuff and kind of shift some of these norms, like these really outdated norms that we have in society of like male female dynamics, and especially in the dating scene, because, you know, someone's got to change it. And if we keep believing the things that we believe about like women being the initiators and all the negativity that comes around it, it's never going to change. It's only going to continue to be this way. And it's like, we have a responsibility as manifestors and as women to make those changes. It's kind of up to us. So good luck out there. Maybe I'll have more to talk about in the future about, you know, my experience around all of this, because it's really scary. I'll probably want to talk more about it in the future. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. I want to hear more of your guys' experiences too, because, you know, I learned from hearing about other people's experiences as well. So let me know like your guys' thoughts around this whole topic too.